Your OBGYN office probably already has everything in place that people think exasperates growth. You probably have experienced physicians. You are getting referrals both from internal medicine doctors and primary care doctors. You have strong clinical outcomes, and you likely already have a reputation built in your community for your practice. Yet, you're not growing as quickly as you would like to, and outward appearances aren't always what they seem. In today's episode, we're going to dive into one of the main reasons that your growth isn't as big as it could be and what you can do to fix it. A lot of times you can have all of the things going for you, including referrals. And a patient may get a referral and they intend to call and book an appointment. But somewhere between you should call this person and actually getting on the schedule, there's a disconnect or it doesn't happen. There's a disconnect or there's a hiccup in your process that you probably don't even know about. Hiccups can look like it's too hard to schedule. It's easier to schedule with the bigger practices because they have online scheduling. There's confusion about what is next or what's covered by insurance, and those questions aren't readily answered, or the information to answer those questions outside of, say, business hours isn't available. And sometimes it can just be that the patient is anxious and they don't have anybody that's readily available to calm their fears and walk them through the process. For most OBGYN practices, this isn't a demand problem. They have plenty of patients. What it is a conversion and a patient experience problem. Research continues to show that the practices who grow quickly don't necessarily grow because they have more patients that show up. What it shows is that they take better care of their patients and that they provide a patient experience that is bar none to their competitors. Research continues to show that referral coordination failures and referral process absence or disruption are some of the biggest causes for why referred patients don't move forward. It's not always the practices that have the greatest marketing or spend the most money on marketing that win. Oftentimes, it's those practices that value their patient experience and invest not only in amplifying that experience for their patients, but making it as smooth and basically as painless as possible. They're the ones that feel the easiest to trust, the easiest to access, and the easiest to stay connected to. If we haven't met yet, I'm Elisa Connor, and I help both professional services organizations and specialty medical practices grow, not by outspending their competitors, but instead by creating experiences that their patients and clients can't wait to talk about to others. There's a hidden revenue problem for OBGYN offices that you're probably not even aware of. Like many specialty practices, OBGYN offices are feeling the pressure of outside forces on their practice. That can be things like the increase of competition because offices are being consolidated into corporations. It can be things like the expectation of your patients of your digital experience and whether or not you're measuring up to that expectation. It can be the expectation that if people refer your practice, that you're going to respond quick as possible. And sometimes that isn't possible. And overall, practices are being evaluated not necessarily based on the care they deliver, but on the complete experience that the patient has with a practice. Most practices weren't built to be able to handle all this pressure, and they weren't built knowing that they would have to meet these unforeseen and unspoken demands. The referral process for OBGYN offices still relies heavily on workflows that revolve around faxing, voicemail loops. They don't have consistent follow-up. The scheduling can be fragmented and inconsistent, and there's no clear ownership typically within an office of who owns all of this communication. When those systems break down, the patient experience breaks down with them. And that is where the revenue loss begins. When researching this episode, I found that referral coordination usually breaks down in the same places over and over regardless of the size of the practice. Where things break down is if there's delayed outreach back to the referral, when information is missing from forms or from the referral doctor, lack of updating the patient or the referring partner about what's going on with the patient, or to the patient about what's going on with their schedule, as well as poor communication back to those referring partners on the status of the patient they sent over, and finally, unclear communication to patients on what their next steps will be. The result of all of these challenges is referral leakage. And the definition of referral leakage is when a patient is referred to your office, but they never actually become a patient. There's some sort of hiccup deterring them from becoming a patient to your practice. And when it comes to OBGYN, this matters even more than you think it might, because there's a very high emotional caliber that your patients enter the door with or coming to your practice with that frankly is never even addressed by most OBGYN offices. Patients can arrive with anxiety or fear of test results that, a lot of times they're fearing the worst, or even trauma history from previous trauma, whether that is forced sexual trauma or trauma from experiences of loss, fertility concerns, or pregnancy complications, or even financial concerns about what it's going to cost to work with your office, or worrying about who's going to take care of their other kids while they're at their appointments. Even small amounts of friction when it comes to working with an OBGYN can halt or stop the process completely. And that's because the patients that are being referred to you are all already under a lot of duress. And one small hiccup can just deter them from moving forward at all. Research in women's healthcare show that patients are not only requiring, but almost demanding that they can trust their physicians, that there's open communication, that they are treated with respect, as well as cultural competence, strongly influence satisfaction and engagement with a practice. When your patients feel rushed or confused or dismissed, God forbid, or uncertain about how they're going to move forward or what the expectations are from them, from your practice, they just walk away. They don't make a fuss. They don't say it loudly. They just quietly slip through the cracks. And because most OBGYN offices don't have extensive analytics, they never even measure that loss. And that's costing their practices a lot of money. The OBGYN practices may not even realize that they're losing those patients until it's too late, when they start to see their schedule soften, or their referral patterns are shifting, not in a positive direction, or their no-show rates are creeping upwards, and their referral from existing patients are declining. At that point, it's almost too late in the game to figure out what's going wrong with referrals, especially if your practice is fully dependent on referrals, and that's what keeps you afloat. By the time you figure out there's a problem, the problem is already so big that you have to act like it becomes a fire drill to try and figure out how to fix the problem. But at the end of the day, nobody has either the time or the tools to pinpoint exactly where referrals are falling through the cracks, or that it's referrals at all. So if we dive into a little bit of math, because this makes it real for every practice, and we use numbers that are an average. This may be different for your practice depending on the size and the number of physicians you have in your practice, and where you're located and how many patients you see. So take these as a guide for you to then go calculate your own numbers. An average OBGYN office with 4 physicians that see between 18 to 22 patients a day for 250 clinic days a year will have an average of 18 to 22,000 patient interactions per year. Published no-show rates for OBGYN offices show that on average, offices will see between 15 and 25% in no-shows. If a practice has just 3 patients per day who no-show, and you multiply that times the 4 physicians, you have 12 no-show patients a day. And then we multiply that times an average rate of $175 per patient. And then again, multiply it by the 250 in-office days. You're losing in your practice just over $500,000 a year in no-show referrals that is money that could be in your office. And those are very conservative numbers. Chances are pretty high that those numbers for your office are actually much more than that. And that's not because you have a lack of a demand of patients. And it's not because you don't have people referring you patients. It's not because of your marketing spend or your marketing activities. It's because people are falling through the cracks of a process that either is not optimized or doesn't exist. And it is not optimized in most cases for patient experience. Patient experience is always looked at after people become patients and usually never before they become a patient. And this $525,000 number that we just talked about doesn't even take into consideration ongoing patient care that can increase the value of that patient over time. Things like imaging, things like procedures that patients may need to have, ongoing fertility challenges that need to be addressed, or perhaps surgery, or even ongoing care for patients, or referrals from existing patients to new patients. Those all amplify that 525,000. It's never going to be lower than that. And chances are pretty high that it will always be higher than that. Now, if we take into consideration or into the math equation, the number of referrals that are sent from your referral partners, if it's only 2 patients per month and that referral partner stops referring patients for one reason or another, and it's due to the process that you don't have in place or the hiccups in the process you do have in place for the referral partners, that equates to 24 patients that referral partner sent somewhere else. And that's just from one referral relationship alone. Most OBGYN practices aren't losing growth because people don't know who they are. They're losing growth because when people arrive on their doorstep and are handed to them as a patient, they're losing them through the patient experience that doesn't exist or is poorly executed, and makes it too hard for patients to come and want to work with their office. There are 3 breakpoints in every referral relationship. The first breakpoint I refer to as the silent referral. The referral arrives from your referral partner, and then it's up to the patient to call and schedule. Almost never is there a proactive system in place to reach out to that patient within 24 to 48 hours. So if it's left up to the patient, a multitude of things can happen. There can be delays. They can forget. They can get busy and have other things going on. Maybe there's a little bit of anxiousness or anxiety around making the appointment. Or maybe they decide to go with someone else who makes it easier to schedule online or get the appointment on the patient time versus the clinic's time. Research consistently shows if there are delays and poor referral coordination, that those referrals don't move forward and get on the schedule. The fix is simple. You create a proactive referral protocol. This is an opportunity for you to start to build a relationship with that patient. When you are proactive with this process, it not only gives you the opportunity to showcase the benefits of them coming to your practice, but it also helps you rise above other OBGYN practices in the realm of patient care and building that trust factor. Breakpoint number 2 is the unprepared patient. Now, when you're looking at OBGYN care, there are multitude of reasons that people would be seeking out your office. And when you're looking at the OBGYN patient experience, you can't look at it from the perspective of the way that administrators look at schedules, where it's a one-size-fits-all Band-Aid. When you have different patients coming in for different reasons, when you create a generic message that is a reminder message or a follow-up message for those patients, that's exactly how it's going to be received. But when your practice can create clear, specific communication for your patients, it not only reduces anxiety and stress, but it also reduces your no-show rate. The fix for this is to take a little bit of time and create appointment-specific confirmation language and ensure that when a patient is coming in, that they receive the confirmation and communications specific to the appointment type that they're coming in for. That little bit of preparation and Consideration answers questions like what they should expect, how long they can expect for the appointment to last, the financial expectations. It can give them some emotional reassurance, and most importantly, the next steps so that they feel secure in moving forward with your office. This one step is going to help you, again, stand out from most other people in your industry because most people are not doing this and they're not catering those communications to the patient type, which can make all the difference in whether or not a new patient is building trust with you or if that trust is deteriorating before they ever even walk in your door. Breakpoint number 3 is the invisible referral partner. You might have referral partners that you've known for years and years, and you sort of just have the expectation that they're going to refer you patients. But when they do refer you a patient, do you follow up with them? Do you send them a thank you? Do you give them an update on the patient that they sent over? Or do you just take the patient and run? In most cases, it's the latter that is more common than the former. Over time, your referral partners can feel a little used and abused. But if you take the time to just put some policies and practices in place to show them that they are appreciated and to keep them in the loop with our patients, you are going to, again, stand out from everybody else that doesn't do those things. Whichever practice communicates faster, schedules easier, closes the loop with their referral partners, and appears the most responsive is going to win at the end of the day. Research, again, shows that the practices that close the loop with their referral partners are not only more appreciated and more thought of and for future referrals, but when those things aren't done, it becomes a major point of referral leakage in a practice's growth. The fix is easy. You create a closed loop referral process and you implement it so that your referral partners not only feel appreciated, but feel like they don't have to chase down what's going on with the patients that they sent you. It doesn't have to be expansive or expensive. It can be simple. It can be brief. As long as it's consistent and acknowledges their effort and shows appreciation for you sending them your way, it's going to go a lot further. They know that they can reliably send people to you and that those people are going to be taken care of because you are already illustrating that same integrity with them. As a practice, you're no longer competing on just clinical quality. Instead, you're now being forced to compete on things like access and responsiveness, clarity, convenience, emotional trust, and referral experience. The large health systems that are taking over and buying your competitors and squeezing out the independent practices, they understand this, which is why they've already created easy digital storefronts, online scheduling, patient navigation, referral management, and they have an entire infrastructure built around patient experience. But most independent practices don't have the budget to compete with this, but they still need those same systems. The practices that are going to not only survive, but thrive into the future are going to provide not only excellent care and excellent communication, but they're also going to prioritize their patient experience, because patients now evaluate healthcare experience the same way that they evaluate anything else they do in their world, whether it's purchasing on Amazon or going to their local restaurant. And that includes asking and answering questions around, was it easy? Did they feel respected? Did someone guide them? And did anyone follow up with them? If we're looking at an example of a restaurant, the things that they're looking at are, were they greeted quickly? Were they seated quickly? Was the food hot? Was the waiter or waitress kind and considerate? Were all of their needs met? Was the food priced well? Was their order correct? Like, there's a lot of things that they take into consideration, and they're now applying that same mentality to your practice, whether you want them to or not. That's the reality that we live in. So if you tune in every week, you know that I give you an action plan for each of these episodes so that you can start taking action and see traction right away. This week is no different, so let's dive into this week's action plan. As I mentioned before, one of the things that you're going to want to evaluate is those 3 breakpoints that we went through: the silent referral, the unprepared patient, and the invisible referral partner. What I want you to do is take a look at those 3 breakpoints and see which one is costing you the most patients. Which one do you have the most breakdowns in? And then I want you to calculate the number of patients that are falling through the cracks of that breakdown and that you have lost in the last 30 days. And if you would like to do an average, I would say calculate this for the last 90 days and then create an average for 30 days over 3 months. Then take that number, whatever it is, if it's 2 per day and you have 4 physicians and it's the numbers that we went through before where it's 12 a week, then once you have that number, I want you to multiply it by a couple of numbers. One, take it and multiply it by the average visit cost. So if that's 12 visits per day and your average cost is $175, you would take 12 times 175 and you would come up with that number. And then multiply that again by the average number of clinic days. So if yours is more than 250 days a year, multiply it by that and write that number down. And then one more time, we're going to do that same math on the long-term investment for your average patient. So if the lifetime value for an average patient is $10,000, then you need to take that 12 and multiply it by 10,000, and then again, multiply it by the average number of clinic days you have, whether that's 250 or more. And that is going to give you, when you add those 2 numbers together, the average amount that you're losing in referral business for your practice. And that is an important metric to not only become aware of, but to share with your leadership team and your physicians. Because when they're aware of that, it makes it an easier problem to fix. First comes awareness, then comes how do we fix it? Which leads me to, if you've made it to the end of today's episode, you likely realize you have a referral leakage problem. And chances are pretty high that your eyes might be popping out of your head when you're calculating those numbers and you're having an oh shiitake moment. If that's you, that's the exact reason I've created the Referral Recovery Lab. And it is opening for the first time on June 4th. This roundtable experience is being designed specifically for practice administrators in specialty medical practices who are ready to solve their referral leakage problem. This program is only going to be open for 20 spots. That's it. I'm closing it after 20 because I want to be sure that I have the ability to focus and dedicate one-on-one time with each participant and that we are engaging with each other in this format. One of the big benefits of being in this founding member program is that you're going to have a built-in community that allows you to brainstorm, connect with, and share ideas with other practice administrators in specialty medical practices. They're going to bring outside perspective as well as their own ideas and experience so that everyone can help each other solve their problems. There are a few benefits to being a member of the founding group of this program. And the biggest is that you have the opportunity to help ensure that all of the things that you need to build this program out are included. We're going to build it together. I have some ideas. I know that the big, beautiful brains that are going to join me in this room are going to have ideas as well. And we're going to incorporate all of those ideas to design a program that is going to be phenomenal for everyone. So that's benefit number 1. You get to participate in the build of this program. The second benefit is that the founding members will be enrolled in this program at the lowest price that will ever be offered. It will never be offered at that price again, which is another reason I'm limiting it to 20 people. So if you are on the fence about fixing this problem, I want you to take a minute and reflect on the numbers that we just walked through for your action plan. And ask yourself, if you don't solve this problem now, where are those numbers going to be in 3 months? And more importantly, where is your mental and emotional state around those numbers going to be? Are you going to continue to be stressed out, pulled away from your desk, and sent in 100 directions while you're fixing referral problems? Are you going to have peace of mind and a process in place that allows you to continue to do your job in a more effective way and not putting out fires all day? If you are ready for the second, I would love to see you inside. In the meantime, thanks so much for joining me this week on this episode. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with someone else who would find benefit from it, and to hit the like button if you're over on YouTube. In the meantime, be well, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.